Cornerback is one of the most important positions when it comes to a defense, especially when it comes to things like schemes and man coverage, zone coverage, and is easily a position that you can build your defense around and be the centerpiece on your defense. And the truth is that there is a lot of good cornerbacks coming out this year into the NFL draft. I've got my top 8. I'm going to go through some highlights, talk about them, what I feel about them, and also go through NFL Draft Buzz website. They did a little scouting report on each of these guys. I'll read some strengths, weaknesses, and whether or not you're a Detroit Lions fan, because this is a Detroit Lions channel. But even if you're a fan of another team, feel free to stick around. Let me know what your favorite team is, who you want, and why you want them. Let's start with prospect number 1. We have Kool-Aid McKinstry. And look, I'm just going to say this. There's no specific order. I just kind of put them all together wherever I could fit them. And Kool-Aid McKinstry, even though he's number 1, and I said there's no specific order, he is probably my number 1 overall prospect. So Kool-Aid McKinstry to me is the best overall corner in this draft. A lot of people seem to disagree with that. I think most Lions fans are pretty into this guy and want him if he somehow did fall to 29, which is unlikely. But from the mock drafts I've been seeing, this guy is falling past the mid-20s, and it just kind of surprised me because this guy was undoubtedly a top 15 pick coming into this year's draft, and all of a sudden, you get Teran Arnold with a breakout year, Cooper DeJean, and all these other guys are going ahead of him. I'm just like, how is this guy not, especially with that kind of name? Come on, man. But anyway, looking at his actual game, he's a great cornerback, right? He's got great length, he's got great ball skills, great hip fluidity, which is so important in a cornerback. Great communicator, and he's physical, and he's also a 3-year starter at Bama, which you can't go wrong there. Not much of a stat stuffer, as you could see by the stats that I showed a minute ago. He does struggle when it comes to big physical route runners, like a Mike Evans or a DK Metcalf, and his red zone awareness could improve as well. Outside of that, Kool-Aid McKinstry, to me, like I said, probably the best overall corner in this draft. Prospect number 2, we have Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. And look, I don't even know when the last time I saw a white corner in the NFL. I don't think I ever have, honestly. But why not? I mean, this dude is a monster. You watch him play, he knows how to play the position. And honestly, I know I said Kool-Aid was the best overall, but this guy has really every aspect of his game. There is a couple things he could improve, but pretty much overall, he's one the best overall when it comes to knowing how to play the position, right? He knows how to do basically everything. He's good in man coverage, zone coverage, doesn't matter. Looking at some strengths and weaknesses from Cooper DeJean, like I already said, he's athletic, he's got a good frame, long recovery, meaning that he can get burnt and he'll easily catch up, and he's well disciplined, which is very important in the NFL, because when it comes to the NFL, penalties aren't 10 to 15 yards, they are marked at the spot of the foul. And that can be game-changing when you give up a 40-yard play. And also, like I already said, well-disciplined, and he's got great intelligence as well and good technique. He doesn't have great hip fluidity, and he can lose his balance because of this. And that's one thing that I kind of worry about, because when it comes to the NFL, you guard a guy like Tyreek Hill, right? A wide receiver 1. You're going to be the cornerback 1. If you're going to get taken first round, I expect you to be a cornerback 1. If you don't have fluid hips to where you can keep up with these guys, you're going to get burnt every play. Look, we already have Cam Sutton, people hate on Cam Sutton a lot. The dude's a baller. He was so good all year, and he started getting burnt towards the end. He got injured, started having to guard top 5 receivers in the league, CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, and people were kind of shitting on him, which I didn't really agree with. I thought, he didn't deserve any of that because he's going one-on-one with these guys. It's not like he has any help. It's part of Aaron Glenn's defense. But to me, I think Cooper DeJean is too complementary, or too similar, I should say, to what Cam Sutton already is, which Cam Sutton to me is just a really good cornerback 2 that can play cornerback 1 anytime you need him to, but struggles against the top 10 receivers in the league. But if he can get fluid hips and, get some balance and stuff like that, this guy for sure would be probably a top 2 or 3 corner in this draft. And kind of like Kool-Aid, you can get him involved in special teams, great return man. He had that game winner against Minnesota. I think that got called back or something like that. I really like what I see from this guy, and I don't know, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this guy, because I'm kind of mixed on whether or not I would want him. I don't know if I'd take him at pick 29 in the first round, especially if there are other guys available. But again, this guy's a great overall corner, and after the combine and watching him play, I think I'll change my mind. Coming in at prospect number 3, another Bama product, Teran Arnold, who had a bit of a breakout year. I mean, look at that. 5 interceptions to me is pretty damn impressive. And I also kind of have mixed thoughts on this guy as well, because to me, he seems more of like a cornerback number 2, and he basically was that at Bama, even though, technically he did have better stats than Kool-Aid. To me, Kool-Aid's more the lockdown corner. This guy's more like the ball hawk kind of guy. So, Teran Arnold, to me, I would be okay with taking him at pick 29 for the Detroit Lions. I think he's probably going to go before that, because a lot of websites have him ranked above Kool-Aid, which, again, I don't know. I don't know what they see. I guess I'm not an analyst, all right? I'm just a guy who, thinks I know a lot, which, I think I do, compared to most people at least. Teran Arnold is a great cornerback, don't get me wrong. I just don't know if he's top 3 in this class. I think for sure he's top 5, though. So, don't get me wrong. I would take this guy in a heartbeat if, all the other, great corners are gone. And honestly, I could see him being a cornerback 1 in the future. Obviously, it could take a year or 2 to develop. And he's got great measurements and stuff like that. Let's go through some of the stuff that I found on him. He's got a great frame. He's, good man coverage guy. He's a good hard tackler. And he's not great in zone coverage and can draw penalties a lot, which is something that I worry about, because like I said, penalties in the NFL are at the spot of the foul. So you have to be able to be disciplined. And he's also a lot less comfortable in the slot, which, as a Lions fan, I'm not worried about. But if you're a fan of another team and you want him to play slot a little bit, that could worry you. But honestly, overall, he's a good corner. I think he just needs to work on the discipline. You can see he's kind of handsy. Like, that probably should have been a flag. But that's something you can easily work on. Joey Porter Jr. was kind of like that coming out, and he fixed it up a little bit more in the NFL. Good coaching can get you there. So I like Teran Arnold a lot. At prospect number 4, we have Nate Wiggins, who is another one of my favorites. I'll probably give my rankings out in the end of who's my favorite, but as you can see, pretty good stats, good measurables. I do like this guy a lot. I think that he, to me, would be my cornerback 2 in this draft, right behind Kool-Aid. Looking at Nate Wiggins, there's a lot to like. One thing that stands out to me is his speed. He is one of the I think he's like the second fastest corner in this draft, or at least in like the within the top 8 corners. Looking at some stuff about him is that he's got great height and arm length, so he's got great measurables. Amazing recovery speed is something that I saw on him, and he's got great agility as well. Some of the things that he can struggle on, he does struggle a lot with, like burst. Like, he doesn't have a great burst when it comes to like catching up to receivers or something like that. Let's say receivers running downfield, he doesn't have that great burst speed, but he has overall like good fast and recovery speed, which is something that when I watched his highlights, I saw, he catches up to guys so well. I don't see many corners do that, which is, that's a great thing to have. And he could put on a little more weight is something I also saw. But I think that I saw that he struggles with change in direction. That's another thing that he struggles with. But overall, I think that this guy could easily develop into a cornerback 1. I think he's got really, you look at the measurables, you look at the way he plays the game, hip fluidity, and being able to track the ball down, get pick sixes like that, and make plays for the defense, and then just be a lockdown guy. Like I said, I already went through his strengths and weaknesses, but he is, really good at recovery speed, which is something that, many guys need to work on. Prospect number 5, we have Quincy Mitchell. Sorry if I mispronounce anyone's name, by the way, but Quincy Mitchell out of Toledo. This is another guy who, at first, I had a lot of question marks with. Mostly, yes, because of where he played, which Toledo was not even a bad Mid-American conference, to be honest, team. They were one of the better ones. Them and Tulane really started to kind of like come alive. But this guy, outside, if let's say he played at like an Ohio State, I think this would easily be a cornerback 2 or 3 for most people. And I saw him getting mocked to the Lions first round a lot, and I was kind of like, I don't want a Toledo guy. And I kind of watched him. I was like, okay, he's got some potential. You look at, some stuff about Quincy Mitchell. He has elite athletic skills. He is the fastest player in this draft when it comes to cornerback. I think he ran a 4.3 40, and I also heard that he ran like almost 24 miles an hour. They clocked him running like almost 24, which is insane. Insanely fast, great tackler, and elite ball skills. Agility and fluidity can improve, and he struggles against bigger running backs. So, again, fluidity and like being able to keep up with your receiver and stuff like that, and agility, that's going to be important. That's one thing that he needs to get down, especially, when it comes to once you get to the draft. Like, he's got to have that down. The combine is going to have to prove himself. To me, this guy could end up being my cornerback 3. Right now, I'd probably have him as my 4 or 5 in this draft. I would take him at 29 if all the other ones were gone. I think I do, trust this guy to be a cornerback one day. I could see him being a stud, but I would rather get him mid to late second round. Prospect number 6, we have Kinane King out of Penn State. Another guy who isn't much of a stat stuffer. He's only 5'11", but look, I mean, Pat Surtain, the first Pat Surtain was only 5'11". He was one of the greatest corners probably to ever do it. I'm not too worried about his size. If he's I'm just gonna go through his strengths and weaknesses right now because there was a lot of important stuff that I saw on this guy. He's a great ball hawk. He's physical for his size. So even though he's 5'11", which is shorter than most, cornerback ones in the league. Most cornerback ones are probably 6'1", 6'2". And they're starting to even get taller. Like Sauce Gardner's like 6'4", 6'3", I think maybe. But he's physical for his size, which is important. Great agility and great speed. He's, I think, the 3rd fastest corner. And he's got great footwork, which is very important. He's smaller. He can get, he got exposed against Marvin Harrison Jr., which, let's be honest, every cornerback in the nation is going to get exposed against that guy. He's going to be a top 5 receiver his rookie year. He'll be a top 3 throughout the rest of his career, and he'll probably be like the best. He'll probably win Offensive Player of the Year for a season or two, and he'll be probably the number 1 receiver in the league for a while. But like I said, everyone gets exposed against him. So those are really the only things I saw for weaknesses. I did hear that he kind of regressed a little bit his senior year, I think it was, at Penn State. I think he's a senior, which, because he took on the cornerback 1 role, so he just regressed a little bit in stats because he's getting targeted more. He's having to guard the best receivers, but he still had a good overall year, and that's why I think he could be a first-round pick. More than likely, he's going to be an early to mid second-round pick. Could even fall to the late second round, but I think he'll probably go early to mid first round, or second round. I do like this guy a lot. Prospect number 7, we have Kamari Lasser. Sorry again if I mispronounce the name, but this guy out of Georgia, another school that you just can't go wrong taking, and that's probably why he'll end up on the Eagles because they'll just take Georgia guys, right? So Kamari Lasser is a very good corner, and I watched this guy and I didn't really know much about him, and I was kind of like, okay, this is not what I expected. I didn't think he would be this good. Now, a lot of people are skeptical of him because he doesn't have the best, he can be undisciplined at times, but let's look at him. He's a fluid athlete, good technique, and he's good in zone. He needs some better ball skills, and he grabs a lot. Those right there, the ball skills, it's like, okay, you can develop that, you can get better hands, but grabbing a lot is something, like I said, I don't like cornerbacks that are really, touchy and draw flags a lot because, again, NFL, they're going to call that 50% of the time, and if you're getting a penalty that's 40 yards downfield, that's a free first down, but not only that, that's, free 40 yards, and they're already on our side of the field. So I think that having a guy, if he can, kind of learn to get more disciplined, 100%, he could be a late first-round pick. More than likely, he's probably going to be an early to mid-second-round pick. Kinane King, by the way, is probably like my cornerback 4 as of right now. This guy would probably be, later on, maybe 6 or 7 for me. But I do really like this guy, and I love him in the second round. Now to our final prospect, Andis Rraw Jr. from Missouri. Decent measurables. Not any, huge stats or anything, but looking at this guy, I do like what I see. And if there's anyone that I've seen mocked to the Lions the most, it's probably this guy as of lately. It was the Toledo guy, Quincy Mitchell, and now, as of lately, it's been Rraw. Looking at some stuff about him, high IQ, great in man coverage, great length and wingspan, his wingspan is one thing that really jumped out to me because he has very long arms. That's going to be important when it comes to interceptions and batting down passes and stuff like that. He has a light frame, and he's not great in zone coverage. So if your defense plays zone, it's probably not great. And he's also he's not great at pass deflections, which is one thing that he'll have to work on because if you're playing cornerback, you're gonna have to be able to bat down passes and get pass deflections, and especially with that kind of length, I think that's something he could develop. But he, to me, is definitely one of the 5 or 6 better corners I'd say in this draft. I think he could probably go first round. I think he'll go late first or early second. To me, I like what I see from him. I don't know if I'd take him at 29 as a Lions fan. I guess if, guys like Kool-Aid and Wiggins, and maybe even I think I'd honestly rather have Kinane King. I think I like the potential there. Only thing that worries me about King really is his size, but like I said, Pat Surtain the first was 5'11" as well, and he's one of the best to do it. I'm not too worried about that, honestly. I think Kinane King would be he'd be nice. But I like what I see from Rakestraw. I think that 100% he's probably going to be a cornerback 1 wherever he goes. I think he's going to be good, and I see him developing into a really good corner one day, and I think he could be a top 10 corner in the NFL one day. I do like what I see from him, and he looks like a dog. Great tackler as well. I like what I see from him, and I do like Rakestraw. He's good. That's going to do it for today. That is every prospect that, the top 8 for me. Let me know in the comments who you like the most, what your favorite team is, who you want, why you want them, and who you think is going to be the best cornerback in this draft. Please make sure to subscribe, like the video. And like I said, comment down below who your favorite is. I've been getting 2 to 3 videos uploaded every week. I'm going to try to keep that up. New mock draft coming out in probably like 9 to 10 days. I like to do it every other Wednesday. If you haven't checked out my first one, check it out. Check out my Jahmyr Gibbs mixtape. And I hope you guys all have a great day. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Peace.